When I got back into fishing around 2006, one of the first places I came was Fields End Lake. It's my local lake, it's a commercial lake, and in those days it was mainly locals who fished there. There was one small field where camper vans and small caravans used to park up, but since then it's been developed into a holiday complex. There are a couple of fields for caravans, lodges. There's even a little cafe on the west bank where you can go and get a cup of coffee and a sandwich and what have you. So the whole character of the lake has changed. And as you might expect, the fishing has changed a bit too. There are big carp in there, but I think these days the bigger carp don't come out as often. There's also more evidence of lip damage to the carp. Unfortunately, a number of people fish this lake with really quite heavy carp tackle and bolt rigs, and for the most part the carp are not that big. There are big fish in here, but not a great number. So the smaller carp just get dragged in, literally dragged in. There's no chance of the carp defeating the tackle, but the tackle certainly defeats the carp, and the consequence of that is, of course, damage to the fish. I also regularly used to catch tench here, but in the last couple of years I haven't caught one. They used to be the reliable catch. Often you'd arrive in the morning and you'd put a bait out near the margins, and you could almost be guaranteed of a tench or two. But I had noticed a few years ago that the condition of the tench seemed to have deteriorated a bit, but they seem now not to be present at all. Anyway, here I am in a pitch that I call the tree corner. The reason I call it the tree corner, it's in the southwestern corner of the lake, is it's surrounded by and overshadowed by small trees, so you're totally sort of enclosed. I've set up with a light ledger, a link ledger, and dropped a piece of spam down the margin to the right. This is something I normally do when I arrive at this lake. Just try putting a bait down the margin, because often you can pick up a fish. More often, admittedly, in the summer. It's a bit late in the year for that now, but I always give it a try to start with. Sometimes I just free line, and what I'm doing here is just watching the line, left the line loose, and obviously if a carp takes, the line peels away. I really enjoy this type of fishing. In fact, this spot here was where I caught my biggest carp from this lake, and my biggest carp ever, which was a 19-pound fish. It was in the summer, and then the reeds weren't quite as prolific as they are now. You could actually cast down the line of the edge of the reeds on the right there, which I did with a piece of luncheon meat, and it hadn't been there any time at all when the line tore away. I was free lining and the line tore away, and I knew straight away I was into a good fish. And after a bit of a battle, it was a 19-pound carp, which, as I say, remains my biggest. Another thing that's changed since I first started fishing here is these platforms, like the one I'm sitting on now. I really hate these platforms. They've got a boarding top, and it means any slight movement is amplified. It's almost like if you sort of even just drop a bait box an inch, it's like hitting on a drum. And if somebody in an adjacent pitch drops their tackle box on the platform when they arrive, as is often the case, it is an almighty great thump. Now, it probably doesn't matter for these people who are casting out in the middle of the lake with their bolt rigs and sitting back on the bank waiting for some action. But when you margin fish like me, obviously someone coming along and dropping a tackle box like that isn't really going to do the fishing any good. You might have spotted there that I tried to cast with the bail arm on, which is never very successful. Originally, these pitches were constructed using like sleepers, wooden sleepers, to form a box, and that was infilled with rubble and then on top gravel, which provided a much more natural environment, and obviously it was much less likely to result in noises and disturbance to the fish. You've probably gathered by now that my tactic of fishing down the margin isn't actually producing any action. As I say, I try it. It doesn't always work, but it's if you first arrive and you're fairly quiet and you put a bait down there, if there is a carp, or in the old days perhaps a tench, it will normally take, and it gives you a good start to the day. Now, although I'm not catching anything, you might have noticed that over on the right hand bank there a chap's just reacted to a bite. He is ledgering out by the island, which you probably spotted in the introductory shot. The island is a popular sort of destination for people who are normally bolt rigging, casting out there, and he's obviously just got to take. Of course, with the bolt rig technique, you can relax on the top bank, even sit in your bivvy if you like, and if you get a bite, it's just a matter of going and picking up the rod because the fish is already hooked. Of course, my sort of fishing, you can't do that. The fish rarely self-hook, so you have to be ready to set the hook. There's the other danger, of course, that when you're fishing at that close range, and if it's a big fish, unless the rod is well anchored down, it may end up in the lake. And there have been quite a number of rods lost in this lake in the past. I am now trying the left-hand margin, having not had any joy to the right. I wasn't too hopeful, to be honest, but it's worth a try before you start to try other things. And in that context, you will note in the foreground there's another rod, my float rod, and I brought that along because if I wasn't getting any joy with the carp, which was quite possible in October, I thought I could try some roach fishing, or if I was really lucky, pick up some crucian carp. The guy on the right hand bank is just about to net and land his fish, so perhaps I'll stop nattering just for a minute or two so you can watch the fish being brought in. It seems a reasonable size. It's difficult to tell from a distance. A lot of the fish are around the sort of 8-9 pound mark in this lake, up to 12 pound, quite common. To get bigger ones is less common, but they're there. They're certainly there. He's safely got the fish up on the bank, so we'll let him get on with his looking and weighing. And for me, I think it's about time to change tactics. So I'm going to get the float rod out, and what I'm going to do is cast the bait on this heavier rod out further into the lake and set it up with a bobbin alongside, so I can leave that out while I'm trying a bit of float fishing. Right, my ledger rod is now set up with the bait cast further into the lake, and it's on rod rest with a bobbin. I've left the bait line open because the reel doesn't have a bait runner, so I needed to do that. I'm also having to move my chair back off the platform because I need to obviously have my right hand nearer to the handle of the other rod should anything happen. I only have simple basic rod rests, which I obviously can't stick into the top of the platform, so I've had to put them in the soft ground to the side of the platform, and therefore move my chair back so I'm in the right position to grab the rod should I need to. I'm using a 14-foot match rod, Shimano match rod with a Rapidex centre pin. I have in the past hooked into reasonable sized carp using this setup and managed to get them in. Going back to what I said earlier about people using heavy carp tackle here, this lake is very open, and certainly if you're hooking a fish away from the edge, there is really no danger of losing it in open water. There's no snags. It only becomes a problem when you get near to the edge. In March 2009, I actually managed to land a fish of 18 pounds 2 ounces on a light Avon rod with a 4-pound hook length and my trusty Speedier centre pin that I've had since I was a lad. It was an early season fish, and obviously not as sprightly as it might have been later in the summer when the water would have been warmer. And I had a bit of luck because it ran out into the lake, so I was able to play it in open water. But it does go to show that when the fish are in open water, you don't really need enormously heavy tackle to deal with them in this lake. Back to today, I did manage to catch a few small roach, not very big, less than half a pound I would say. I didn't catch any of this on the video unfortunately because they were coming at irregular intervals and it was difficult to get the video running at exactly the same time as I caught the fish. But anyway, I think it's time now to wind up this episode, and again you didn't actually see me catch a fish once more, but thank you for watching, and I hope you come back for my next video, and until then, bye for now.